Welcome to the Elemental Awakening.
Okay, so welcome back. Good friend of mine, Gino Di Serio, founder of, creator, discoverer of the Master Fast system. We just did a podcast a couple weeks ago, live on Facebook, and the audio wasn't working, so we're here again. Second time around, it's going to be even better because we've had a practice round. So welcome, G.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you again.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
So just a little bit of the backstory here. Ends up that Gino is actually cousins with my wife's maid of honor. But I didn't know that when I first found out about him through an interesting Facebook group called the Master Fast System, where people are having their eyes change color, they're shedding all kinds of weight, expelling all kinds of crazy things from their body. And my wife actually joined the group first. Like, you got to see what's going on in here. I'm like, no, I don't want to see that stuff. But then I did, and then I looked into it, and something just really called to me. I was like, oh, there's something here for you. And I don't ever take those feelings lightly when I feel that calling. So I started following along for a bit, and then pretty quickly after, I said, let me reach out to this guy and see if I can talk to him. And he was a busy guy, hard to get a hold of, but eventually I did. I think because we're related in some kind of way. And I found out he lived in the same town I grew up in, and I was like, okay, this is too much of a synchronicity to deny. So I jumped on the protocol, and I only did about 55 days, which for me was a really challenging, challenging go at it. Before that, I had done a 7-day juice fast, which was nothing in comparison to what this was. And it was so impactful in my life. It not only allowed me to sort of learn a lot about myself, about the addictions I had, the way my mind works. I also shared an article online that got hundreds and thousands of shares and all these Facebook followers, and I met all these friends all over the world now that I know because of this fast. So maybe I'll start with some gratitude for you, G. So thank you for that. The role you played in that was helpful to me, and it made a lot of changes in my life. So
it's interesting what happens when we start fasting. All kinds of channels open up, right? Because we're removing blockages, right, in the physical, mental, and emotional states of our beings, and that's the key.
The week before, this is when I had my last podcast. The week before, I was like, how am I going to get more followers, this and that? And I'm fasting, so I'm so clear. And the voice is just like, shut up. Like, why are you even worried about that? Just share. The people who are supposed to listen are going to listen. You're worried about the wrong things. The ego was talking. It was so clear. So I just write this article. I just write as vulnerable. I'm showing pictures of worms that were coming out of me, and I just shared it. And literally within 2 days, I had 5,000 friend requests. It was crazy. And you must have seen the influx of people that were coming into the
you transformed completely, night and day changes.
Yeah. So that's the backstory. We got Gino here again, and so tell us a bit about you, the Master Fast, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. In 1990, I got handed a book called Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret. And I read the book, and as I'm reading through this book, I couldn't put it down because the information made so much sense. Now, prior up to that point, I started having a lot of pains in my lower back area and so on and so forth, and other issues. So I'm reading through this book, and I went through it, I can't remember, very quickly, within a couple of days or something. It's a small book.
Great book, interesting.
And that's it. I knew there was a light that turned on. I knew that fasting had to be part of my life, so I started implementing a few little fasts here and there, and then I jumped in a 40-day juice fast back then, which was with Concord grape juice in a bottle. And, all I did back then, I was just doing the grape juice and doing enemas, and all kinds of crap was coming out of me. Like
40 days it was?
40 days, and pretty much every day, all kinds of crap, and the smell was out of this world, horrific. I had to open the windows and doors to get the smell out. Anyway, lo and behold, get over that fast, and I ended up being bedridden. People will say because of the fast, but the fast is only the avenue to find balance, and it brings out your weaknesses. So I had a lot of weaknesses. I was, fully obstructed, and so on and so forth, and all of them surfaced.
When you say obstructed, like what is the terminology for people who don't
Obstructed means foreign materials in the physical body that block energy, and they are attached to also mental and emotional blockages. And that's how they get actually blocked in the physical body. It actually starts in the emotional part because everything's energy.
And Eric would say V equals
P take away O.
P take away O.
Yeah, vitality equals power take away obstruction. So, you know, if you remove the obstruction, your vitality goes up because the body doesn't have to use any power, very little. If you are full of obstructions, the body has to use much more power and it sucks your vitality.
And there's a direct relation, I think we spoke about this last time, between the obstructions being physical but also emotional, and sometimes they're related. Like you go to food to sort of help.
Well, we run to food to block these emotional states that we are not ready to handle and deal with. So we numb ourselves up with the food. So we believe we don't have to deal with them. But all it does is numb us out and stores them deeper. So the best thing is to look at them, work with it, start making notes, write down, and start dealing with it and handling the emotion so you can bring balance to it. And these emotional things could be through our ancestors. It's not only from our own lives, because we're attached to them whether we like it or not. Yeah. We can't be separate. You know, we're all one as a human race, but our ancestors have a very powerful impact in who we are and what we are.
Okay. So you do the 40-day fast,
End
all
up
this crap's coming at you, all the obstructions, or because you were very obstructed.
Yeah, end up being bedridden because I was what was happening. I understand now. I didn't understand back then because there was no internet, no Google, none of that stuff to find the information. And you know, now today it's so much information. People get even more confused. But all that information that I had back then was a book. Trying to find people to get information on going to chiropractor, acupuncture, this, that, and the other thing. I really couldn't get a clear answer of what was going on. But many years later now I have an understanding, a little more anyway. And basically my body was not able to purge these obstructions, these toxins, whatever you want to call them, out of the body quick enough that the fasting triggered to move out. And it really affected my kidneys, my bladder, my sciatic nerve. So I was basically in agonizing pain for 2 years approximately, on and off. But most of that time I was pretty much bedridden. So, you know, going through that, I understood, like I said, when I read the book, I knew fasting had to be part of my life. So I continued to do small fasts every season change. That was something that I felt was a good time to fast when the seasons change, and I kept that up until today. I do continuously fasting from anywhere from 7 days or longer on my season changes, except for now it's dry fasting because that was something that came many years later.
We'll get into that in a bit, yeah.
So, you know, in all those years I was doing many different types of fasts, a little bit of water, a little water with lemon and honey, like Eric suggested, some different juices, some fruit juices, some green juices. I was doing all different types of fasting over the years. And like I said, it was mainly on the season changes, but then every once in a while I would do longer ones, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 days or whatever. Going through life, you know, in these times, it took me many years to really find out and allow my body to release all these things to bring some balance back. You know, going through the vegetarian thing, back then it was vegetarian. What are you, crazy? Nobody knew what that was. And at least
it's funny because like our parents or my grandparents in Italy were mainly vegetarian because they couldn't get meat. You know, they lived into their 90s, so they ate a very grew their own food, ate very close to the source, very little meats. You know, that was a delicacy. If you got dairy or meat, you were lucky.
Yeah.
You know, like
my parents said, you know, they were lucky if they ate meat once a week.
Well,
right?
once a week.
So it's a big change for living in the West here in North America.
But then here, when they came here, it was like meat every day.
Every day.
Like, to go vegetarian again.
Every meal, maybe.
You're crazy.
Some people, yeah.
Vegetarian, you know, like,
so that was a big, you know, shift to go that route. And then moving into veganism quickly, because I knew that the cheese was a big problem and stuff like that, the dairy stuff.
You felt it.
Oh yeah, it was. You can feel it after you eat. You know, it just plugs you up when you start cleaning your diet up. And letting go of that stuff was a big help. But really, the fasting is really where I knew and I felt how the body brought itself back to balance very quickly, because it didn't matter how clean I ate. The fasting is where everything happened.
Isn't it amazing? Like, I don't know if you can remember now, but going back to realizing how addicted you were to certain foods like dairy.
Oh, yeah.
And like before you have the realization, you have no idea.
No.
You know, you can't see it, you can't feel it until you take it away. And then it's like, oh, you really want to eat that cheese. Like, oh, there's
Big
times
time.
where like I want to eat a whole block of cheese.
Yeah.
I'll feel like shit after, but in that moment, it'll just be like, oh my god, this is so good, so rich, like it's so addictive.
They're showing the science is it's as addictive, if not more than heroin. Like it's just the triggers that it gives the body and stuff. But food in general, I believe, is the most addictive thing that we do over and over and over every day. And you know, we don't need to eat every day. And
When I
that's a
tell
big
people that
revelation.
like, I don't eat from like Monday to Wednesday, it blows their minds. Like if I don't eat for 3 hours, I can't concentrate because I'm already thinking like, what's for lunch? What's for lunch? What's for lunch?
Yeah.
And imagine how much energy that drains out of your day when all you're thinking about is food. You can't focus on anything else.
How much energy you got to go think about where you got to go to buy it. Then you got to go there, buy it, spend the time there. Then you got to bring it home, prepare it. Then you got to eat it. Then you got to digest it. Then you got to dump it. And there's much more involved. But I'm just giving you the basic scenario of just what we need to do to eat. So when you free all that up and you don't eat for a few days, my goodness gracious, how much more
There's so
time you
much
have, and
more.
your mind's clear, and so on and so
was,
forth.
That was one of the biggest takeaways on the fast was like, wow, I spent so much time on food, and now I have so much free time, not even thinking about it, where I can direct it in different ways. So even if you go down to eating once a day, like that's
Big time.
It's
Huge.
It's huge, right?
It's huge.
Yeah. Okay, so keep going. I keep interrupting. But
No big deal. So going into the veganism thing for many years, and then finally coming to the realization, well, no animal cooks their food. You got to go into the raw foodism thing, right? And it was the year 2000 when I did that, and I did that for almost a decade. Hardcore, raw, vegan.
How'd you feel when you did that?
It felt amazing, but I still couldn't solve the kidney challenge that I had from way back in, from all those years, right? From 1990, it really flared up, but I had little flare-ups here and there and stuff, even on being on the raw food, even doing the short fast. I couldn't really find a complete balance for that, so I was, in my mind, I knew there was an answer somewhere, so I'm always searching and trying to better. So I got into, reading the sciences about the high fat and letting go of the sugars and all that stuff. So I went into the high fat thing.
Keto.
Basically keto type
Vegan
lifestyle. But
keto.
I stayed on keto. I didn't want to go back to animal products, right? And I went into that. And it was a big shock to find out what that was. But going into that, because I was working out with heavy weights at the time, I used to work out with weights years ago and just said, let me see what I can do with weights after all these years and see how strong I can get. And I was doing real heavy weights, strong range motion and going as much way as you possibly can in all the exercises. And I was doing 4 different workouts and 1 workout a week. So one workout would be once a month. And it would take that long to recover, especially from a leg workout because of the amount of weight and stuff like that. So the key with that type of workout is the rest period, which nobody concentrates on. So I got really strong and everything, and I was doing this keto thing. It's very stimulating, very, you can build strength from it. Slowly but surely, I was ignoring things that my body was doing because I was so focused on believing the science of it. And, my body was giving me signals, this, that, and the other thing. And lo and behold, then I started getting more problems. And my joints would start popping out, my ribs and my lower back, my SI joints and stuff. And I'm going to a chiropractor every month and so on and so forth. And then it was almost close to a 3-year period. I got a really bad fungus infection from head to toe. It was horrific. I lost so much weight, strength and everything. And then the revelation came in. I got a few slaps from the universe saying, what are you doing? Go back to what the basics of, fruit and herbs and fasting. And I got the wake-up call, and I said, this doesn't work. I'm going back.
What was the wake-up call?
That fungus infection.
And didn't you see one of your friends?
Oh yeah, a friend of mine who was into that as well, who spent a lot of money into microscopy and this and that, and I was having a dialogue with him about how I was feeling. And he was like, "Yeah, don't worry, you know what I mean. You got to take a little bit of time. Don't go too drastic either way." And a month after I changed, or two at max, he passed. His heart stopped. And then I knew, I made the right choice. I go, this is not the way for me.
He was a young guy.
Yeah, he was my age, exactly. It was 2-3 days. When was this? 2013, 14, if I remember, around there. And he was
not too long ago.
No,
5-6 years ago.
Yeah, he's just a few days difference birthdays.
Wow.
So he was my age. So that was a big wake-up call, and may his soul rest and have a wonderful journey and for eternity in the other realms. But it was a big learning experience for me, and it was all for a purpose. Everything I've done in my life to get to that state. And I was also studying at the Kesh Spaceship Institute. That started coming on board for me, and it was a big revelation to find out about plasma and its gravitational magnetic field strength and how everything in the universe works, the basics of creation. And putting all this stuff together, I was made aware about dry fasting.
So dry fasting, just to explain.
Dry fasting means you're not taking in any forms of food whatsoever, any forms of liquid whatsoever. You're just breathing air. That's
just
it.
Breathing air. So almost like a breatharian lifestyle.
Yeah.
More or less.
But you're doing this for
Lots
certain periods of time. And my first dry fast, I went all in like I usually do. I do 3 days. The last day was very tough. It's mostly the blockages from our programming that come in, right? You're going to die. They tell you 3 days without water, you're dead.
Yeah, I remember when I did 5.
Yeah.
That's when I wrote the article. It was on my 4th or 5th day of the dry
Clarity.
fast. So clear. And we were at Niagara Falls, and I'm in the water park with the kids, and I look so skinny, but I didn't care. It didn't even matter to me. And I just remember thinking, what's going on here? How is this even possible? But I felt incredible. My body felt so open and clear. And anyways, keep going.
Yeah, the dry fasting. So that was my first stunt of dry fasting, and it was a wake-up call because you start getting downloads when you get into these dry fasts with the clarity and stuff. It's just the information pours through, because we all have access to the limitless realms where all the knowledge is available to everyone. It's all the books have been written without pages. As I say, the limitless realms. It's available to all of us, and this is what awareness is all about. Coming to that place where, wow, we can access any information we choose that we're attracted to. So I started, doing more and more dry fasting, and right away I said there has to be a schedule for this, and bang, 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 the information came through. I'm going to do 18 hours a day, I'm going to do 24 hours a week, and I'm going to do 3 days a month. And that's what came through to me, of dry fasting. And I started doing that. And it was awesome because I could feel things changing very quickly. And
so 18 hours a day, you just
dry,
have a 6-hour window of whatever.
Of liquids and food if you're eating. If you're not eating, it's just liquids.
So the rest is it's supposed to be dry intermittent fasting. It was an 18-hour window.
Right, okay. A dry intermittent, right.
Yeah. Cool.
Excuse me. And then I started putting together information from the revelations I started getting from the information that Kesh was sharing with us about how cooking things open up its atomic structure. The heat opens up its atomic structure to release its energy in the higher order of things. And I'm going, bang, the light went on about my 40-day first Concord grape juice fast.
Because Concord juice is pasteurized.
Well, the ones in the bottle, yeah.
It's cooked.
Back then it was Wiley Brothers, they're not around anymore. They used to sell it in gallons at the health food stores for $10 for a gallon of Concord grape juice. Great stuff. But anyway, the light went on to understand. The understanding started coming through of what happened on that fast. Because I was didn't really understand it fully what happened. I had a basic understanding of the body couldn't purge this and that. But now I understood why that was so powerful at moving things because it was cooked. The raw juice fast, all of them that I didn't have that power. But I was so blinded by the raw is law thing at that time for all those years being in the raw food movement and watching that grow, that I was closed-minded to it, right? So the wake-up call was this information. And right away, the information came through from, I call it a planet come bella la vida, because you can create anything you want. And this information about MFS came through from that planet to make itself available for everybody. And right away, this was the Master Fast, the initial Master Fast thing, and I jumped in. I had planned to do 40 days, and it ended up being 108 days because we work with the magic of nines, and 108 days is very important and magical in creation, and the yogis know all about 108 and many other numbers that work with the nines. So I ended up doing 108 days my first time with doing basically the Concord grape juice with herbs, because I'm not going to play the game I played back in 1990, and we made
and the herbs just help to
keep
detox.
Energy flowing. It basically unlocks stagnation of energy in the physical, mental, and emotional bodies to open up and allow them to flow. See, what happened in 1990, I didn't have that. And these energies were stuck. Things started moving around, but they couldn't come out. I ended up in bed. So when you allow these energies to open and flow continuously, your body purges on all levels. And that purging is what fasting is all about. We want to release and keep energies flowing, just like the universe. There's no stagnation in the universe.
And you know what? Like they even say, like even animals know that when animals
course.
sick, just stops eating.
Of course, automatic. And they don't drink.
And
They don't water fast.
Yeah.
They stop eating and drinking.
Yeah, right away.
Because if they have a broken leg, they ain't going to go get a drink of water.
Yeah.
Just to give an example,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
They either heal or they die. That's the cruelty and the beauty of nature, to allow the strong to survive and propagate. So we have a little bit of knowledge now, a little more than the animal kingdom, and a little bit of experiences that we can help people in a situation where they break a leg before, just lying there and maybe you die because you can't get help. But now we know what to do. We can wrap a leg and allow the bone to mend faster and so on and so forth. But there's also, we call them technologies of instantaneous healing of a broken bone. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Well,
A few people intent and heal.
I've seen some stuff like that. I've even seen a video online of Greg Braden in the medicine hospital in China.
Right.
It shows that where they're healing bladder cancer.
Instantaneously.
And they're just like praying on it. They're all chanting. The person's saying it's already healed.
Yeah.
And then like boom, just like spontaneously,
tumor's gone.
Just disappeared. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
So this information has always been there. It's been lost over the years, whatever conspiracy we want to make up or whatever, but I believe we've been enslaved for a reason. So we have access to this information, and fasting will allow you to access this information again. How do we know of what all these different thousands of herbs are good for? How do we know that? It's because people were tapped into the spirit of these plants. It's not because, the trial and error thing. No, I don't buy that. They tapped into the spirit of the
When
plant.
you think about like something like ayahuasca in the jungle, there's like hundreds of thousands of plant species, and it only works if you mix two very specific plants together.
And how do they do that?
How someone figured that out?
They
would have died. A lot of people would have died just mixing different plants.
Exactly. They communicated with the spirits of the plants, and that's the beauty.
And
why we use.
And part of the preparation for a lot of these ceremonies is fasting. Is going on dieta. It's like eliminating different foods and almost sometimes like not eating at all. And then you get a deeper connection. Right?
It's
it all makes sense.
Yeah, we look at all the religions, they have all teach about
Fasting.
fasting. And we look at a lot of the yogic, Vedic stuff, it teaches about fasting.
That was one thing that really caught me. One thing that stood out of all my years of being a Catholic was, Jesus went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And people just think like, they take it at such like value that this is just a story. But what was he really doing there? And that's when he
was he drinking in the desert?
That's where he had these and he had these altered states, and he was able to sort of communicate, whether it was the devil or whatever. He had this expanded consciousness.
Yeah.
So when I went into the fast, okay, if all these guys like Buddha and Jesus are doing it, there's got to be something there.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
It's inherently built in us, and like you said prior, the animal kingdom does it automatically.
Yeah.
We see the animals that hibernate, like bears and so on and so forth. They're doing 6-7 months out of the year. Look at this bear; it's a big, massive thing. It's, you know what I mean. It's half a year's not eating. So there's something to it, you know. And also the I don't know which Aborigines, but they say that if they get a bear as soon as it comes out of hibernation, it's a delicacy to meat because it's cleansed itself.
It's so pure.
Like, I don't know, I don't want to partake in that, but I'm just saying they know this because it's the fast. The fast, right?
Well, another thing, and you brought the natives, is that they do a vision quest. And for 4 days, they give up no food, no water, even sleep they give up. To give it up, all that is to sustain life, and they want to like give back to nature. But usually what happens by the 4th day, visions, like they just go into this altered state, and they just become so connected, you know, very quickly, because they just, you know, just abstain from all of that. So it's really interesting.
It's a beautiful thing. So this dry fasting was a big revelation, and I love to call it the art of subtraction, the gift of giving. Like if you think of creation, what is it doing? It's continuously giving life. And in that, it's feeding back itself. By giving, it's coming back because there's a flow, continual. We call it the figure 8 flow. Everything's a spiral and flowing back and forth. You can't have one way. It doesn't work in the basics of creation. It's a two-way thing. So when we start giving, and it can be in any form, shape, or whatever, we're going to get that flow of energy coming back to us. And fasting, what are we doing? We're giving up and, you know, allowing others to tap into that energy. So it's a form of giving.
Absolutely.
It's not a form of deprivation. It's the absolute opposite.
Find dry fasting, and you create this protocol. You do 108 days, and your life is forever changed.
Well, it's not from that one instant, but it's many years.
But when you got there towards the end of that fast, things must have been changing exponentially.
Yeah, it was such a huge, I don't even know what the word is, awakening of this protocol that the universe kicked my butt and said, you got to share this. Because I was very reluctant to share anything, especially on social media and stuff back then.
It's not like, it's kind of out there. Like, a lot of people wouldn't understand it. I'm sure your family thought you were completely nuts.
Well, they've been watching me fast for many years. And
they're already used to it, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it was a big awakening, and the protocol's very powerful.
So who did you share with first? I'm curious. Like,
a friend of mine actually did it with me. You know, he tagged along with 108 days, and then I just.
How was his experience? Similar to yours?
Oh yeah, of course, life changing. And so we just decided, you know, let's put it online. We made a cheesy website and to start off, and then we opened a Facebook page and we started sharing. I didn't think anybody would be crazy enough to do 108 days, but I was wrong. People were jumping on board, and you know, first off, we got chastised and blasted about cooked juice and stop drinking water and all that stuff because people are going, "What is this guy? He's crazy." But there was a few people that said, "I'm going to try this," right? Yeah. And they jumped on board, and then, you know, results started coming in with people completely transforming, changing their lives so drastically. It was just awesome to watch the transformations. And that's how it started growing and growing and growing and growing. And you know, miracles after miracles were happening. You know, magic was starting to flow because people were tapping into this, to the limitless realm, I like to call it, you know, the lifestyle of less is more. You know, but, you know, I started off saying, this is a lifestyle. This is not an event. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. But nobody hears that. Everybody hears, you know, do the fast and your life's going to change and do whatever you want after.
Some people go to it for the wrong reasons. Like just, I want to lose weight. You know, I want to look better.
Yeah, I want to heal this. I want to heal that. They're doing it for that specific reason instead of looking at this. This is a lifestyle.
They're looking at the finite versus the infinite.
Yeah. It's a journey, and you continue on the journey, and you expand.
And don't get it wrong. Like, if you're listening, like, you don't have to do 108 days.
No, we don't tell people to do 108 days anymore.
It starts with just starting to reduce the amount of food and see how you feel. And then you reduce a little bit more and see how you feel. And then start really learning, like, you know what? You get to make the choice how much you want to impact. You want to eat that piece of cheese, but you're going to know, like, hey, this is what it's doing to me.
Yeah. You're going to feel it.
So like I'll still eat cheese from time to time. I'll still eat gluten from time to time. I don't eat meat. I don't eat. I stay away from like processed foods and meat and all that kind of stuff. I fast a lot. For the people that I know, compared to Gino, I don't fast a lot, but compared to a lot of the people in my circles, like I'm always like I'm intermittent fasting all the time. Like 1 day a week.
But you've taken it on as a lifestyle,
and that's what works for me. And it's challenging at times, but like I know the benefits, right? And so like, don't think that like less is more. So start small and
what we suggest, we've adjusted the protocol here and there over the years.
Because at one point it was just the one weight, like that was it, right?
Well,
right in the beginning?
no, but it says do 108 if that's what you want, or 40 days I would say.
I remember,
minimum 40 days, and then make sure you continue your dry fasting schedule for life, and then do this 40 days once or twice a year, or go for a long one once a year. Something that's the way we started off, but it was just too much of a shock and change for people.
For most people.
So what we're saying now is, start on 2 days a week. 2 days a week, most people can do. And if you can't do 2, start on 1. Meaning 2 days a week master fasting. 1 day is your liquid. You start on a liquid day with your herbs and everything, enemas, and then the second day would be your dry fasting day, right? And do that. You have your dry fasting windows every day, every week, and every month you do a 3-day, if you can do 3 days. And you start on that. And do that for 5, 6, 7 months and see how that works, see how it feels. And then if you're emotionally stable and ready, then you can go for a few weeks of a full MFS and see how it goes. But you need to have that understanding. This is your lifestyle, and embrace. If it's not a lifestyle, continue eating. We're fine with that. But if it's not for everybody, this lifestyle. This is a lifestyle, and it will drastically change you in every way, shape, and form. You will never be the same. You're going to know the power of master fasting and how it can impact your life to a better degree in all levels when you embrace it and you allow the process to happen. We never push, because if we push, you're going to run into problems and you're not going to sustain. So, little at a time, little at a time, little at a time. But the dry fasting, we call master fasting a glorified dry fast, because that's the foundation of master fasting. Because the dry fasting is the analogy of a sponge, a dirty sponge. You squeeze it and the dry, and then you wash. You squeeze and you wash. So we're doing squeezes every day. Every week we do a bigger squeeze. Every month we do a big squeeze. And then every season change, we do a really big squeeze. I say go as long as you can. Anything more than 5 days, if you're not experienced, I wouldn't recommend it. And you should have somebody watching over you if you don't have experience, because it's powerful.
And before doing this stuff, talk to your healthcare provider. Like, don't take our advice. This is what we do for based on our own experiences. So always, if you have a thing like some sort of condition, I always say talk to them first, let them know what you're doing. But if these things sort of don't really apply to the Western model of healthcare. It's a totally different philosophy on health and
complete opposite.
Healing. Complete opposite.
Yeah.
But for legality reasons, I would say talk to them first. Let them know.
We have a full-fledged notice. We have a full-fledged protocol where you buy $45 to be a member, and you get all the details and information on how to master fast properly. Anything outside of that, we don't support. We support master fasting. That's what we do. There's many people that are fasting out there. You can follow whoever you want. We specifically focus on master fasting. We have it down to a T. We have a new understanding, what we call it, and we have this new understanding is revealed on how the body does certain things and so on and so forth. And we now know what to do to allow the body to shed these obstructions and allow the soul, I like to say, work in autopilot. Once you clean this GI tract, which I call the plasma vacuum tube, once you purge that and clean it, the soul works in autopilot. Meaning you don't have to think about it. Just allow. Follow the protocol and allow and watch the transformations happen, because they do. And it's just magical to watch, because we've seen it thousands of times.
So many people. What is some of the most extreme things?
There's a lot. Like the biggest one is Marin in Germany, who was diagnosed with 4 types of cancer, did 4 years of chemo, and I was wrong last time. He said I said 13 surgeries, 24 surgeries, because I just spoke to him not long ago, briefly. I was messaging him, and I don't know how anybody can survive that. He did.
So in the hospital, I remember this story.
Yeah.
He just stopped eating.
Yeah.
And stopped taking anything.
He started master fasting. When I was in Italy, he was introduced to me. This was back in the early days, in the first year. And I had ended up sending him herbs. The customs refused them, sent them back. And I go, Marin, you have to make your own herbs. And he did. He buys all, and he started doing it. He's continually doing it. And he ends up starting the master fast. And he hasn't stopped. He's still basically on the master fast protocol. He's not, he hasn't eaten. He took a 2-week break of doing smoothies because his healing reactions, we don't call them healing crises. Healing crises when you go to pharmaceutical stuff. Healing reactions are when you fast and the body's trying to do things and purge, and it's using a lot of energy, and it feels like you're going to die, you're going to get a cold, you're going to get a flu, you're going to get a fever, you're going to whatever. You can go blind temporarily, paralysis temporarily. It could be anything. But the body's doing its work. It's all in autopilot. So you just have to use the tools to help purge it and get through that state. So he ends up going through a major healing reaction. Ends up going to emergency, and they end up having to remove a portion of his lung. They told him at the start that it was because he was practicing breathing exercise. I'm telling them, they're full of shit. Sorry for my language, but
that's okay.
The truth came out after was because they way overdid the chemo on him and burnt tissue. This is known. If you do your research on chemo, it doesn't matter how many years later, it could come back and bite you very drastically, burning tissue and or growing excessive tumors all over the body. It just spreads the cancer like crazy. We don't believe in disease, but this is what going through chemo sessions does. We know this. So that's what happened to him. They removed the portion of his lung. In the hospital, right after the surgery, guess what? He tells all the doctors, I don't want anything else from you guys, leave me alone. And as far as he had the drainage tubes going in his lungs, and he says usually they're like 9 centimeters in the lung. His were 25, and he didn't want any anesthesia when they were going to remove it. They thought he was absolute crazy. They wanted to put him in a mental ward. So they're pulling this thing out of him, and it's way longer than usual. He says the pain, I can't even tell you on a scale to 1 to 10, he was at least 15, how much pain he went through. But he did that. So he did 13-day dry fast after the surgery in the hospital. Checks himself out of the hospital, no inflammation, no pain, no nothing. Meanwhile, the same surgery, similar, people are in there for weeks in the hospital. All inflamed, pain, so on and so forth. So he's in the hospital. The doctors are giving him shit because his urine is all kinds of craps coming out because he's dry fasting. And then the lab report comes back, totally supporting his kidneys are working amazing. And the doctors are, just giving him the runaround because they can't make money. They can't make money. So basically he checks himself out the 13th day and he recovered beautifully. And then many months later, he had to go do another surgery, something that happens because of surgery that you can have problems. I don't know what it's called. It's a terminology that's known. So he had to go get that correct. Same thing, does another 5-day dry fast, goes home and recovers quickly and everything. So this is a superhero, we call him. We had another guy, another superhero, Gabrielis, we call him, who was in a parachuting accident and half his body was paralyzed. He went through like 10 surgeries and so on and so forth. He got most of his feeling and recovery back. I seen him do his first pull-up, first swim. So these are the things that happen. We have Michelle, who, oh man, the things that she went through growing up, being beaten by robbers and this and that, psychiatric does. She totally recovered. She actually is the one who helped us make the pet protocol. She's been working with animals for 40 years. She's beautiful, beautiful soul. And there's Kelly Kibbe, another crazy transformation. And there's Benny. There's many.
You're gonna make a book on the transformation.
We have all
I remember seeing them.
The testimonials. We have interviews and so on and so forth.
So these are some of the good things. What are some of the challenges people have with the master fast? I remember in the early days, people would go back to food. They'd binge eat. They'd blame you. They'd say you screwed me up. You ruined my life.
Yeah.
So what happens there?
Well, fasting brings up all imbalances, all weaknesses. that you've built up through your life and through your ancestors, because you're part of that. So it brings them up to the surface. And what I mean is it brings them up to allow you to come to terms with them and release them and bring balance to them. Or you can hold on to them and keep them. It's up to you. So some people, because the emotional pains are so much more powerful than the physical, people would rather have the physical pain. They go eat, plug themselves up again, deal with that instead of dealing with the emotion. That's what happens. That's the reality of the matter. But, this is where master fasting is a support system, which is crucial for your success, to be with us, because we do live calls Wednesdays. We do live calls on Zoom Saturday nights. We have the Facebook page, and we're continuously supporting people so they can share their stories and find out, how we can help them, how that we can help them release, using some of the tools, so on and so forth, the breathing techniques, going out in nature, walking barefoot, getting grounded, hugging a tree, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have many tools using different herbs, essential oils. There's so many tools we can use. You can go do some acupuncture, some chiropractor maybe, whatever. We have a lot of tools now that we can use, and they're all very powerful and useful. So we can get ourselves through these challenging times, because once you come out of master fasting, like a full MFS, you can't go back to 7 days a week eating. This is very clear in our information, but people don't listen to it. And they think, and they get overwhelmed with all the emotions, and then they go back to eating all their same things, because number one, they didn't change everything in their lifestyle from A to Z like we teach to do. You can't go back to your old ways and have all the same triggers. You're going to go back to your old ways, for sure. So change your, the time you go to sleep, change the time you wake up, rearrange your furniture, throw things out. Change maybe your job, go different times, whatever. I'm talking about changing everything in your life from A to Z, because you want to start a new life.
And you know what I found too, that when you're fasting, it becomes clear. Like the things that are not serving you, it's clear. So
move them out, get rid of them, give them away, sell them, whatever.
One thing I noticed was that I was when I was fasting, I said, I need to have everything organized in my life.
Right.
And I wasn't a very organized person before, but it was showing me like, hey, you should just organize your life. It's gonna make things a lot easier. And where afterwards, when I went back to eating, I lost that level of organization. It wasn't until I started really fasting again,
you get it back.
Lifestyle, I was like, okay, now I really, want to keep things organized and clean, because I don't need that extra layer of junk in my life.
Exactly.
Like with the food bring, I don't know, but it's strange. Like to me, it's I won't say strange, say interesting. Like the connection, we start putting them together. It's like, wow.
Yeah, the revelations come through. Your answers will come through to you when you fast. I don't have your answers.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody's answers. I can only find my answers through fasting.
Yeah. And for people who think this is too hard for me, I can't do this, I'll tell you one thing: the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
It's a thing that living things have, like, called anti-fragility. It's when, like, if you break a glass, it's broken. It's not gonna put it back together. But when you give a little bit of stress to the body, it's going to adapt. It's going to change itself. Like when you go into the cold, or when you change your breathing.
Wim Hof.
When you don't eat food, your body's going to say, okay, like, now what are we going to do here? Let's change things up and adapt. So it just takes a little bit of time and the right mindset, and your body will change. It'll become easy. Your body's saying, okay, this is the new normal. Let's work with this now. If you tell your body eat every day, it's going to think, okay, I'm supposed to eat 5 times a day. It's just your brain's trying to do what you're teaching it to do. Your repetition. But that's why I think, like, over time, with building this sort of routine,
it's a practice. It's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. Like we say, repetition is the mother of skill. With practice makes perfect. We need to embrace the journey and not look back, and continue embracing and expanding on the journey, because it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, the awareness through this type of journey. Look, like mentioning the cold with Wim Hof. I love Wim Hof because this man's broken 26 world records. By what? By using breath and cold.
And his mind.
Well, of course. You're tapping. A lot of people put mind, but it's the soul, man. It's the soul. Not the physical.
The other layer. There's another layer behind.
You're tapping into soul, man. You can't do things with physical stuff, man.
But what brought him to that point was pain.
Yeah, exactly.
He's paying
From his wife's suicide.
His wife's suicide, and it brought him to that place. But then he's like, went to nature, and he doesn't eat much either. He eats like once a day.
Once a day, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because when you're tapped
He
into
does
that
love
realm,
pasta though.
I
I'll tell you
know.
that much, but he doesn't eat much, like once a day.
I know, but when you're tapped in that realm, these revelations come through. This food doesn't make me feel good. I got to do less of it, and it's that simple. Just doing it that way. Instead of eating 3 meals a day, go to 2, and then move on to 1 meal a day further on as you start getting used to it. Because the body's going to take time to adjust. But fasting is the quick the balancing act. It brings you to balance much quicker when you let it all go for short periods of time. And this is the beauty about fasting. Master fast is just a level that we found through my experiences of 3 decades. It's more powerful than anything I've seen. I haven't seen anything at the level that what we're doing in master fasting. There's all kinds of people fasting out there, and I see a lot of misinformation and things that can put people in danger of what people are doing out there, because I've done so much of it and I've done through so many experiences. I don't have all the answers, but I can see because, I've done that. These guys are crazy. They're going to hurt themselves. So it's not like I'm any genius or anything. When you do things enough at the times, you become master at it.
Well, sometimes I'd rather listen to someone who's done it rather than someone who's read about it.
Right.
You have people that are experts that have never done these things, and you have people that know firsthand what it's like to go through all these experiences.
I see a lot of people with these certificates or whatever, not putting it down or anything, but they do 1 or 2 fasts, and they're experts going to teach this stuff. They have no clue what's going on. I'd say 9 years is a good start.
Yeah.
Really, it's really a good start of actually living and loving this lifestyle. 1 fast is a great experience, but wait till you've been doing this for 9 years and look back, my goodness gracious, and you'll be expanding, because that's the nature of things. When you feel good at doing something, you're going to expand it, right? Even though the people that crashed, we've had people come back 2 years later and tell me I'm sorry, I bashed you and this and that, and now I understand.
Well, because his emotions are coming out.
Yes, with this one woman, she's a beautiful soul. She actually grew over 2 inches. She went hardcore, and I don't remember what day it was, 70, 80, 90 days. I said, break your fast, and she didn't want to. She was so determined to do that 108 days. She actually went a little bit longer. She went to skin and bones, and then, chastised me, blamed me, this and that. She was easy to find people to didn't agree with you. And then she came back. She did the interview. You can watch it. Lena. I can't remember her last name, starts with W. And, beautiful soul. It was revealed to her. Now she's fast. She doesn't go to skin and bones anymore. Long fast. Yeah. And she has the understanding of what she had to go through, the purging. Because the body's going to purge everything it doesn't need, want, or use. And then it's going to build properly.
What's interesting too is we hold trauma in
Right.
cellular memory.
Yes.
So, if you can't release that trauma, and the fasting's going to let it go.
Yes.
And so those cells are going to have to go too. So if you can't find another way to do it, because there's many ways to do it, like to release trauma. Like
all kinds.
There's different ways, but fasting is one way. But it's a hard way, I think, for most people, because you feel these emotions leaving you too. Because a lot of people, they get into it, but that's the process. You know what I mean? If that's the only way you can do it that way.
It's hard, difficult if you don't have a support system that understands what's happening, and that's the challenge with people. They want to do things on their own for whatever reason. They don't want to reveal, and that's one of the key factors of finding balance.
Let me rephrase it. Every way to release traumas is challenging because you're bringing it up.
Yes.
Right. So you need a support system in all of these ways.
Exactly.
They're all going to be hard.
Exactly.
Whether you're doing ayahuasca, whether you're doing a fast.
You need a
as
support
it comes
system.
to the surface, you need people.
Find somebody that you can resonate with whatever you're doing and take hold. But what else I was talking about earlier, the gift of giving. That's part of balancing. You need to understand the gift of giving. And if it means that you have to give up all your sensations and traumas and everything to let them go and have somebody listen, that's a form of giving. That's one form. So do that and watch what happens. You start embracing. Like, I brought my crystal with me. I usually have a crystal with me. This is all energy. These are living beings, right? In the Atlantis times, they were using crystals for healing, right? Until they self-destructed themselves through their ego, I probably believe.
Too much eating.
But these things are magical, right? And you're drinking tea there. Have a sip of your tea. Taste it, feel it, the structure, the taste, and everything. And I'm going to just put the crystal to it, right? And I want to see if you notice any difference from it, right? You know, because I've done this with other people, and most people can sense a difference. And I want to see if you sense any difference. Texture, taste.
I would say it. I don't know if this makes sense. Tastes softer.
Yeah. Texture, yeah. And that's for most people. We've done it with wine, and we put it with wine connoisseurs, and they couldn't believe it. They said it's aged like 2-3 years.
Wow.
It's just putting a crystal that's energized.
And water holds frequency too, right? It's structured.
Right, exactly. Just a simple crystal.
Oh, that's amazing.
Magical. We've done pretty amazing things with these things.
Pause.
So yeah, I love crystals. I've been playing with crystals for years, and you know, they're just awesome. Play with crystals. That's other tools you can use. Crystals. Get the ones you're attracted to, because everybody will be attracted to different things like the salts and so on.
Yeah, my
and so
wife
forth.
started making necklaces out of crystals, and they're so beautiful. I'll make you one actually.
Nice. You wash them first in salt water and stuff, clear their energy, and then you invoke them with whatever energy you want. You can put them in the sun and the moon and so on and so forth. And the lunar cycle, that's a beautiful time to fast on the full moons. It's very powerful, you know. But everything in the universe.
Also, like the parasites that all live in your body.
Oh yeah.
They reproduce on the moon cycle too.
Yeah.
So they detach from the walls of the intestines and in the digestive tract on the full moon. So that's the perfect time to fast. If you starve them, you're gonna have a better chance of killing them and purging them out. Yeah,
the fasting is basically we're working on changing the terrain. Environments dictate outcome. Internal and external environment dictate outcome. There's a story about an Australian fellow, classmate at the Keshe Institute, that shared his wonderful story. He was out camping or something in the wilderness, and they had a massive electrical rainstorm. And it was a lot of water came down. After the storm stopped, there was puddles all over the place. And in these puddles, there was fish, live fish. He said there was nowhere that water came that the fish could have swam in. The fish manifested in these puddles right in front of their eyes. How does that happen? Well, I just said earlier, environments dictate outcome. When the environments are exactly right for a certain thing to be created, it happens. This is how creation happens. This is how everything's created. Immaculate conception, environment dictates outcome. But believe it or not, it doesn't matter.
You know, it's so hard to believe. Like, listen, I've had some crazy things happen to me that if I shared the stories, people probably wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That one sounds crazy, but you know, like I'm at the point in my life where I think anything is possible. Like anything is possible. And I think the key with healing or anything, it's what you believe is going to really dictate what your outcome is. For example, if your doctor tells you you have cancer, you're going to die. Some people will believe it and they'll die very quickly, and some people will not believe it and say, no, fuck that, I'm gonna live a long life. Like my grandfather lived to like 95. He had cancer for like the last 6 years, but it wasn't until like the last couple of months that he just went downhill.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you know, like he was very stubborn. I was like, no, like whatever. I'm not gonna listen to what these guys say.
Beautiful.
But you see other
That's
people,
a good example.
they'll get like a diagnosis. They won't sleep.
Dead.
They're just like they're just getting nervous and upset, and the next thing you know, they just wither away really quickly. So,
intent and emotion. If you keep it clear and focused and sharp, changes in the environments, the body has to respond.
Yeah.
That's that simple. I'll tell you another story right here where I live. Before the Best Buy mall there across the street was all open field, one day we had a bad rainstorm, good rainstorm with electrical. The next day there was frogs everywhere. Thousands! Where do they come from? They weren't there the day before. It's a similar, same thing. Change the environments and creation happens. You know, I also read an article once about the rainforest in Borneo. Is it? They were finding a new species like every week or something.
Yeah.
What do you mean? They were always there? No, creation continuously creating.
And even extinct animals coming back.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I believe that.
So, you know, when you start playing with energy, you will start to understand how everything is possible. Like the little stories I've told you are nothing. We're going to see more and more of this stuff being revealed as we go along through these years, because we're in the age of Aquarius, where you know, all this, the realm of the light is becoming more and more known to us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a beautiful place to be. You know, these are beings of light, and we are beings of light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when we work with the light, we will see the impossible becoming possible, basically.
I believe that. And I think as the collective vibration is changing and rising, that more possibility is going to be unlocked to what is possible. And, and I think it's infinite. I think we're just going through this process. You know, it's just a natural cycle that humanity is going through of death, rebirth, evolution, and you know, there's so many levels and layers to it. So don't freak yourself out about it, you know. But there's no need to suffer while we go through it. At the same time.
There's a place for everybody to start. Take it easy. You know, if somebody's got some major challenges and stuff, you know, you need some real, you know, support and some coaching and stuff. Everything's possible, guys. Everything is possible. The things that we've seen, I don't care what it is anymore. Of course you can heal. Of course you can heal. It doesn't matter what
anyone
it is.
can heal. Yeah. Anyone can heal. And there's a lot of guys that are saying the same thing. Joe Dispenza, you know, a lot of stuff that he's doing with the spontaneous healing. So, So where can people get a hold of you if they want to inquire about the Master Fast? You have a website, Facebook group. Tell everyone where's the best place.
The Master Fast website, Master Fast System website, it's masterfastsystem.com. The Facebook group, Master Fast System. We also have Instagram, Master Fast System. The Instagram, I'm not there a lot because the Facebook outlay for groups is beautiful for group support layout. It works excellent, so that's why we use that. We have a YouTube channel, Master Fast System, and those are the places that we support everybody that's a member, and we have fun. You know, 7 days a week. 24/7, we're going.
Okay, cool. Well, I just want to. Is there anything else that we missed that we didn't go? I think this time we flew through it pretty good because we've done it.
Yeah, no, we've covered quite a bit. The best thing for people to do is spend the time reading, watching videos, get the information to soak through because, you know, as we said earlier, repetition is the mother of skill. You start reading the stuff one time, you're not going to get the gist of it. You need to live it, breathe it, absorb it, taste it, touch it, and then work with that. And then you'll start coming through and understanding. Like, you know, the people I've said come back 2 years later and they start coming to understand it. It doesn't happen overnight. It may for some. It's not everything's possible, but more than likely you're going to have to put the footwork in. One analogy that Elatom, a great friend, said to me, you know, when you go in martial arts, they give you a white belt, right? And then we want to get our black belt. So what do you have to do? He says, you have to work and work and work and dirty that belt until it becomes black. How much work is that? They don't hand you different colors. You got to make it black. And that's what it takes to master anything. You know, to be a master, it takes decades.
Dedication.
Dedication.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, G. Thanks again. And
you're welcome.
Do this more often. Yeah.
No problem. Anytime.
Great work. And we'll go for dinner one night. Okay.
Yeah. No, when we do.
Thanks,
bottle of wine.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Elemental Awakening. Gino here. Check him out. He's a great guy. Awesome information. A lot of learning and stuff you can check out. Follow the channel. Follow him on Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe below. Leave a comment. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Ciao, ciao.